Almost Famous Enough is a proud sponsor of Music Day in Canada. Music Day in Canada is a national campaign and celebration created by the Lemon Foundation to spotlight the people, places, and communities that power Canadian music. Through live events, artist showcases, community partnerships, and digital storytelling, the campaign uplifts Canadian talent and supports the sustainability of local music ecosystems. The campaign is open to everyone, from venues and artists to brands and fans, with each region contributing its own voice to the national story. Check out musicdayincanada.com or look for the link in our podcast notes of each episode. Ramones, Nirvana, Tori Amos, Queens of the Stone Age. What do all these bands have in common with the Canadian alt-rock band Hotel Mira? You may be quickly scanning your memory bank of iconic singing performances or musical threads that run a through line, but they all actually reference the term lobotomy in their lyrics. Lobotomy. The distinction of using the uncommon word lobotomy in two charting singles belongs solely to Hotel Mira, however. So if you're one of those, air quotes, fun facts guys, you're welcome. That might come in useful someday. Hotel Mira is a Canadian alt-rock band out of Vancouver, BC, and our guest is Mike Noble, bassist for the four-piece band. This is the second episode where I interview the bassist of a band, and I don't think it's the last. No special meaning there either, just more fun facts. But Mike is a music industry veteran, and the band Hotel Mira, while seeming air quotes newer on the radar for many people, I think, who get their band introductions from TikTok or landing on an alt-rock station, they are also veterans. In many ways, this is the current iteration of the musical journey of lead singer Charlie Kerr. And at this point, I could make another sidebar set of iconic band references, which have something in common, and that common thread would be very charismatic frontmen. But I won't. Getting behind the scenes of Hotel Mira was best served by the perspective of the bass player. And Mike Noble has the perfect combination of extroverted charm, natural humility, and internalized experience, and just the right amount of giving no fucks to put lobotomy in a second song. My name is Glen Erickson. This is Almost Famous Enough. Thanks for spending your time with us. This is Mike Noble of Hotel Mira. Are we here? Are we together?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So you're back home?
I am. Flew back in yesterday.
So quick references for everything.
Okay.
My friend Mike Noble, the band Hotel Mira, just came back from Stampede yesterday. Yeah. A fly in, fly out.
Yeah.
In your home back in Vancouver, BC, Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I see a SummerSlam poster behind you, which I love because I know you're a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I'm wearing a New Japan shirt.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's so absolutely perfect. So, this is great. So the reference points are all like fantastic for me right off the bat. But so you guys just did a fly in, fly out Stampede. I think you performed more than once. You were kind of on they have like big bills with multiple people.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, going back to the wrestling reference, Stampede is
okay.
kind of
I like that. Oh yeah, Stampede wrestling.
Stampede is kind of like WrestleMania weekend in the sense of like you have like the one big event, but then because there's just so many people around, there's a bunch of like offshoot events that happen. So we initially flew there because we were playing Oxford Stomp, opening for Sheryl Crow, which was mind-blowing. We got the offer and I was like, is this a typo? Like, did this go to the wrong email? And then we immediately got off stage and I got a text from our agent saying like, hey, you guys are around tomorrow, right? Like, we just got another offer for Wild Horse Saloon. So we went in with one gig and came out with two gigs.
Oh, that's a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So Sheryl Crow, like, so you with your guys' music, which is like I think in a pretty distinct lane, I think we could call it.
Yeah.
But lots of success on the radio, and
Thank you.
And the radio likes to play all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find, because you guys still, you book your own tours, you book a lot of like support acts still on like bigger, longer things, like kind of a mix, it feels like. So is Sheryl Crow like one of the weirdest combos that you've had that nobody would maybe think of, or have there been other ones like that?
It's certainly up there. Like you always get those like when you're first starting, like you play these festivals, and like in my old bands and stuff like that, we played festivals that were like headlined by Drake and stuff. And it's like, obviously that's not a sonic fit, but in terms of like a full bill, I'd say Cheryl's definitely up there without thinking too hard about it.
Yeah.
Just because but the bill makes sense. Like it was us, Dear Rouge, the Sheepdogs, and Sheryl Crow, and you can see see how the flow goes, right? Like,
well, you're more in the Dear Rouge camp, and the Sheepdogs are still Western Canadian.
Yeah,
but they're a little more, organic-y.
Heritage.
Yeah, a little more like in that line, vintage with Cheryl. Yeah, sure, why not? That's great.
It was an amazing, like, everyone played so good. Like, the Sheepdogs blew me away. Dear Rouge were great as always. But, like, when Cheryl came on, it was like I feel Sheryl Crow has been at least in my life, she's just been like kind of like in the cultural zeitgeist,
Yeah.
And I never doubted that she was going to be incredible. But when I saw her, I was like, oh yeah, that's why she's like a superstar, like it was incredible.
Yeah. It's like you feel like you're a pro and then you meet a pro.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So when you were in those younger bands and you played or whatever festivals headlined by Drake, did you do the thing where then when you started to create your bio write-up that you said that you had opened for acts such as Drake?
Yeah. The phrasing that I love is shared the stage.
Yeah.
That's my, whenever I read a, because I work with a lot of emerging artists, just because like I dip my toes into like co-writing and producing and stuff like that. And whenever I read a bio that's like, we shared the stage, I'm like, I've played that game before. I know exactly what that means.
Oh, I know. I've read, I've said this so many times on the podcast. I've read so many applications or like grant applications.
Yeah.
You just sit there and you're like, how do they not think that we know? Like, the only people that get hired to review those things are people who have already done that themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I do. It's kind of like,
but
I
you
think
get it.
For me, of course I get it. Like for me, when I was like at that stage in my career, I was just like to my friends, be like, hey, no, like we're cool, and then so like that makes it to your bio, but then that's just your bio, so you just send it off to grant applications and they're like, oh, you really opened for Mumford & Sons, hey?
First question.
Yeah.
So Mike, I had to ask you a weird question first of all. How old are you?
I'm 35.
Okay. I thought you might be mid-30s.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this a while.
Hot minute.
Do you feel like you have like a lot of friends in the business, or do you feel like we're all sort of friends, but you really only have a few real friends? And there's a reason I'm asking this question. I'm just sort of curious your perspective on the friendships in the industry.
Yeah.
When you do it so long, kind of thing.
I'm comfortable saying I have a lot of friends in the industry. I think it's because like you and I met like 10 years ago, right? Like at
absolutely
at boot camp.
Absolutely.
And I think especially like we've always like one of the things we say about Hotel Mira is that we're kind of like the one of the reasons for our air quote success is that we are the surviving members of all of our other bands who wanted to have a career in music, right? And so we kind of came together, and that's why we're so driven. And when you've been doing it for as long as I have or we have, it's all kind of just the same people, like it's like new people show up here and there, but it's like, oh, like, that person at radio works in this city.
You keep
now.
seeing the same people.
Yeah. And just through over time, you just cultivate these relationships. And like, like when I'm in Calgary for Stampede, I'm hitting up all of my Calgary friends and being like, hey, like, whoever, they work in radio, they work in marketing or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like a bit of a we're all in this together vibe, which is cool.
I agree. I mean, that's a real cool perspective. Actually, I was interviewing Jen Fritz, publicist from Vancouver, and we were talking sort of about this and about after all this time, you keep seeing some of the same names. And strangely, the guy's name just left me right this second. But I was talking with people at the Polaris Music Prize and realized that the person who's running all their publicity and media and all that kind of stuff, I remember his name when I was like hand mailing CDs to, every college station and everything across Canada. Like still around, still doing the same thing, kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like not the exact same thing, but still in the business, still. I think it's really cool. And I guess last night I was just thinking, because I actually went looking it up. I'm going to post it on socials when we release the episode.
Yeah,
Found
yeah.
a photo of you at boot camp
Yeah.
at Rock Ridge Canyon. And then there's a photo that I can't tell if it's you. I can't wait to share this photo and then you can
Hell
tell
yeah.
me. But I just remember you wearing those like
Oh, yeah.
multicolor patterned
I
like
know exactly
like
the
leggings.
photo. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I see a photo, but it's wearing a mask, and I can't tell if it's if you or if it's Buddy from Mother who was at camp.
So I can tell you the story about those leggings actually.
Okay, I love it. The leggings were epic.
So when I worked for Music BC, I've always been a musician, right? And so I did a year working for Music BC in 2015, which is how you and I met. And basically, I did a sub gig playing bass for JP Maurice, and it was like 3 shows on the island, or Vancouver Island for those who might not be BC locals, and we played this like festival. There's a brewery called Longwood, and they put this like festival in their parking lot every year called Longwood Stock, which I only think existed because of the obvious pun. Like, I think someone in their marketing department said, "How about this?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." So they set up like vendors and stuff like that. And there was a lady who lived in Nanaimo who made these like crazy tights. And JP basically was like, "Hey, like if I get some for free, do you guys want to wear them on stage?" And all of us were like, "Yeah, sure." And then we just got these wild ones. And because boot camp was like a month after that, we like everyone was just doing that. So I think it might have, if it wasn't me, it was probably someone in JP's band.
Oh yeah, because they were out there at the same time.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, I remember that. Like because one of the first things that happens at this boot camp, so everybody knows, where all these artists who are sort of hand selected for this massive prize basically kickstart the whole thing by all being ushered off to the absolute paradise of British Columbia.
Yep. Princeton.
And one of the very first things, the first night or second night, is a traditional ball hockey game on this big cement pad that they have between the industry side and then all the artists who are there.
Yeah.
So everybody who's there at the camp on the business side of things, either they're mentors or instructors or camp staff or whoever, and then artists. And I just remember your tights, and I remember you had a really good game. Like you were
got a hat trick.
I was like, shit, that guy's a baller. I love it. So, and I don't even remember all the circumstances, Mike. I just remember we kind of became fast friends. I really liked you. I loved your spirit, and I loved you. And it seems like you still do, all these years later, have a very high social battery. So it doesn't surprise me that you make a lot of friends everywhere you go and would consider yourself a lot of friends. I mean, the reason I ask is I think last night I just found it so interesting that I'm like, you and I run into each other at this thing a decade ago, and through not that many, maybe, I don't know, like it's just staying up on each other on social media.
Yeah.
That I still feel like we're friends.
Yeah.
It's not running into each other. It's weird, right? But really cool.
It's interesting because like I actually get asked sort of different versions of that question. Not all the time, but like enough that it's like a recurring thing. And like, I'm just like maintaining relationships with like-minded people over social media isn't actually that difficult, I think. Like, especially in like an artistic field. Like my Instagram is just straight up reserved for like I fully am just like, hey, like I just want to make myself look cool online. Like I'm not posting like, and like I'm fully aware of that. It's like a secondary marketing tool to the Hotel Mira account, basically, right? So like, you know, I'll just post like my tour info, or like I don't really post my personal life because it's like I'm, you know, I find I don't really need to, if that makes sense. Like, and because it's this thing where like I'm just posting like, here's tour dates, here's some pictures from our last tour. Like we just did a European run. Like look at all these like funny things we did, you know? And then like not five, but like a lot of people will be like, oh, fucking sick. Like that's sweet, blah, 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 blah. Like you being one of them quite a bit.
Yep.
And then and in a reciprocal way, I like, you know, like an artist will post like a sick tour and I'll be like, dude, you guys fucking crushed it. And then the next time I'm in, let's say Toronto, and I run into those guys, it's like, dude, let's go for a beer. Like, you know, it's not like, it's like a kind of like a different thing than maintaining like a friendship in real life, like without similar interests.
Correct.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's like we're all connected by this crazy music industry. So we always have something to talk about.
It's true. And I think I realized at some point along the way, and I don't know when, like I met these people, like you being an example of them. At some point, I'm impressed by them. I appreciate what goes into trying to make a career in doing all this stuff. I want to cheerlead all of those people all the way along. It's as simple as a choice as either like I hit that like, or I hit that share, or I even hit the quick message, like, fucking awesome, or I don't. Like, it's that easy. And if I don't, then I'm probably just going to stop cheerleading altogether. So why wouldn't I just go make the other choice, right? And if that's the version of friendship, I think it's still pretty cool. Like,
exactly.
Okay, so you already started filling in some blanks that I was going to fill in here. So I've got you speaking both about yourself and speaking about the band, which is, probably something you're comfortable and have done a lot of anyhow over the time. But I've been sort of interested, I know, in your background. Obviously, the band started with Charlie Kerr, kind of the founding member. At least the transitions have all sort of existed with him there.
Circled around him. And you sort of came in at 2018 with essentially a whole new group around him, like almost completely, except for the one guitar player who stayed around for a little while and moved on. But the group that came in then is essentially the group that you've been now. So you've had now a good 7 years of longevity with it, which is great. And I'm curious a couple of things about all of that, but I think first is a good place to start is I'm sort of curious about you coming to the band. So like you said, you worked for Music BC, the Provincial Music Association, not-for-profit, and I showed up at the same boot camp, being on the board of Alberta Music, our provincial association, and eventually kind of ran the committee when it turned into Project Wild here for the last 5 years. So we both kind of came into it through provincial association work. I didn't even think I knew you were like an active musician at that time. Like, that's all I knew about you. So then again, following you on socials and then seeing the Hotel Mira thing start, and I had already like loosely been familiar with Japanese girls. So I'm curious just sort of what was your background sort of coming in to that, like getting into music and playing it, and then how you end up in this band. So I love this question. So basically, I started playing music when I was in middle school. I started playing guitar. Girl I had a crush on said she was into guys who played guitar.
Perfect.
So I was just like, that's what I do now. And then we never ended up getting together. So
because ironic. They never say I'm into wrestling.
Yeah, well, no, I still haven't to this day. That's never been a sentence that's been said to me. But yeah, and then so my best friend, since like we grew up together, is Brendan Batchelor, the voice of the Vancouver Canucks for Sportsnet 650. So we grew up down the street from each other, and he played guitar growing up. And then we got into high school together, and we were like, we should start a band. And it was like, oh shit, we need a bass player. And I'm like, well, he's better at guitar than I am, so I'm going to play bass now. And so that's how I started playing bass, and just started, playing in like high school bands. We were, as a high school, I actually often joke with Hotel Mira that like, it doesn't matter how bad a show goes. Like, I've already played my worst show. No matter what, it's just like I'm never gonna get bummed out about that. And then so let's see, fast forward a bit. Actually, no. So I met Charlie in high school. Like, him and I have known each other for a long, long time.
Oh wow, okay.
So my high school metal band actually played a show. It played the very first show of the band that became Hotel Mira, and that's like where I met Charlie.
When they called themselves the Beauties.
Yeah. So I opened for the Beauties at their very first show, and I loved them. And I went up to Charlie after, and I was like, that was an amazing set. Dude's a generational songwriter. I have no problem saying that. He is so unbelievably talented in a way that like, I'm so grateful to get to work with him and be like best friends with him. But yeah, so him and I just kept in touch because, musicians, and like we were young. And then before everything came together with Japanese girls, he actually messaged me to jam, but I was in school at the time because, graduate high school, I ended up going to BCIT for radio broadcasting.
Okay.
So that's why I have this swanky setup and I know what I'm doing. But, which actually is like also ironic, not ironic, I don't think that's the right word, but it helped out. I haven't worked a day in radio. but like people I graduated with are in industry, like Jenny West on the Zone, who's I graduated, like she was a first year when I was a second year. So like all these connections that I made in school are still like paying off in my now like very long career in music.
Yeah.
And then so while I was in school, I'm jumbling the timeline, but we're still
That's
early
all right.
on, so it's not that bad. Me and some friends ended up starting a band called Young Pacific, and that you can still look us up on Spotify. We're still there.
Nice.
My absolute pride and joy of Coquitlam, British Columbia. Just like some of my really close friends. I thought we were really good. Like we wrote some songs that I was just like, damn, like we wrote these, eh? And then we had like, but it was like, you know, late teens, early 20s, like everyone's off to school, then everyone gets in their careers, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
That band fizzled out. Our last show we ever played, we opened for Dear Rouge in 2014. Dear Rouge and Fast Romantics at the Imperial in Vancouver.
Was that like 1 or 2 years off of them winning?
I think it was 2 years off, I want to say.
Okay.
Dear Rouge were direct support. Fast Romantics were headlining. That was off the back of that. I love the Fast Romantics. They have that song Funeral Song that I think is just like fantastic. And that was the tour from that record cycle. And then, but before that, that was like a Young Pacific last show. So Young Pacific died down. My first real tour was I ended up playing bass for an unbelievably talented musician named Jordan Clausen. And this was in like 2013. Oh, yeah. I love Jordan's music. Him and I still are in touch to this day. He's a great dude. His music is unbelievable.
Another peak performance winner.
Yeah. Right. He came second the year
to Dear Rouge, right?
Yeah. So played with Jordan. Did my first tour, like my first true tour. We did a Western Canada tour, and then right after, we did. It was Vancouver to New York. It's technically Edmonton to New York. We started technically Calgary, actually. Started in Calgary, ended in New York. I technically toured across America before I toured across Canada. Like I hadn't done across Canada yet. But that was just like a session bass player sort of thing, and, you know, learned a lot. And I was like, could get used to this life. And then toured on and off with Jordan, played with Lydia Hall for a bit, who was another Peak Performance Project alumni. It's around this time that the Young Pacific last show happened. So this is me jumping the timeline. And then I ended up getting the Music BC gig. I knew Sav and Megan for a couple of years just by being in the scene. I had a background with my BCIT radio broadcasting. Bob Deeth really liked that, and I told him I'd score goals during the hockey game, and he was like, "You're hired." And I was like, "Yeah, project assistant. I'll help out Sav. I can edit any content you need, and I can put the puck in the net." But
love it.
Yeah,
and then, you're referring to Savannah Wellman.
Yes, Savannah Wellman and Megan Davidson.
And Megan Davidson, and they have a company now.
Yeah, Tiny Kingdom.
I don't know why it was escaping me.
They're
great. They're powerhouses.
They're crushing it. Every time I run into, I message Sav all the time just because, like, you know, we send memes to each other. Like, we worked really closely during that year, and we've maintained like a really good relationship since then. And we've been like meaning to catch up for beers over the past 2 years, but we've both just been like on tour effectively. And Megan doesn't live in Vancouver anymore, so that's okay. That's why I'm messaging Sav mostly. But yeah, and then from there, that was like a year when the USBC took odds and ends, like gigs that were local, but obviously I had a day job, so I couldn't really tour. That was a 1-year contract that was based around the Peak Performance Project. And because that was the last year, my contract expired. I ended up playing bass for a guy named Terrence Jack, who is a fantastic musician. He's now based down in San Francisco. I think he's coming back up here sometime before the end of the year. But we did a cross-Canada tour, so it was my first cross-Canada in 2016. We went to the depths of the country, just like you would have, like
Sault Ste. Marie. Did you stay at the townhouse?
The places we played, would have made Sault Ste. Marie look like Paris.
Oh, wow.
But I don't want to name drop places in case anyone's listening. Be like, what?
I get it.
But media trained. So like all the way out to PEI, all the way out to Halifax. Still the only time I've been to the Maritimes, actually. Hotel Mira has never really touched there. Get back, and then kind of putt around, like bartend, just to kind of like take gigs. Did some things with Wooden Horseman, played a gig with Said the Whale, which was really cool. And then Charlie hit me up in 2017. I did like one of my goals was to travel. Like I wanted to do like a really big, like 4-month backpacking trip. So I kind of just worked for the end of 2016, just saved up a shit ton of money. And then early 2017 for the first 4 months, I went from January to April. I did like a 4-month backpacking trip of Asia, which was fantastic. And then I got home and like literally a week later, Charlie texts me being like, hey dude, do you want to jam? I'm looking for, like the old members of Japanese Girls left the band, and I was friends with them, so I messaged them and I was like, hey, like, is it cool if I like is there any bad blood, like should I blah 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 blah? And they were like, no man, like you have our blessing, absolutely go for it. And so that's how that started. So I've technically been in Hotel Mira since 2017, but we only went public with everything since 2018, and that was like a whirlwind. Like the first jam session, so we released we did the name change on an EP because we wanted to, like, we can't just say you're changing our name and just like sit around for a bit. We wanted to have like a big like impact with it. Yeah. So we wrote probably 4 songs off the EP in like our first jam session. We're 3 a.m., Ginger Ale, That Man, and I want to say Beautiful Thing, I'm Terrified. They were, just like, and so we were like, oh, 4 songs in a day. Yeah, I think we'll probably be a pretty good fit. And we still play Ginger Ale to this day. We played it 2 days ago at the Wild Horse Saloon. So
that's great.
They last the test of time, and the rest from Hotel Mira onwards is quite well documented. So
it becomes, the rest is history for sure. Yeah. I mean,
so
that's
kind of my path.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah. No, I love that. Like even that year you're working for Music BC, and so you said it's mostly because they were pretty well invested in that peak performance stuff, and there was a lot of work. Yeah, that whole year, it was pretty much most of an entire year of a lot of work, a lot of coordination, a lot of men's stuff. So you just dropped things in there, Mike, that are just so wonderfully subtle, but about how the business and how this really works. Like I'm sure there's a ton you learned just from that year of Music BC, right? About the business and about artists and connections and just even administration and how important it is in the music world. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about some of that. I'm curious what kind of things you still lean on from that time.
Well, I honestly accredit a lot of my post-Music BC career to just that year of work. Like I remember we played Philip's Backyard Festival in 2022. We've done it twice, 2024 and 2022. In 2022, Sav was there, and because I worked under her at Music BC, and she was there repping a Tiny Kingdom artist. And we all just hung out, and I remember me and Charlie were sitting backstage, and Sab came up to us and was like, "Hey, Charlie, what's it like having someone who knows the biz in the band?" And I was like, "You're giving me way too much credit." But yeah, it's just like a lot of ins and outs, and like there have been times where like, and like this is all to say as well, like the music industry has changed so much since 2015, but it's like at a baseline core level, like it's still fundamentally the same. Like it's like, we are making more TikToks these days. To what end? Like who knows? But like in terms of like how to connect with an audience, how to grow an audience, how to like, I am a true believer that like you can't how do I phrase this? You can't trick people into thinking a song is good. Like no matter how many marketing dollars you put into something, if the song just isn't there and isn't resonating with people, it will fail, and that is like, obviously like there's so many subjective ways to take that take, right? But it's like you've seen, like you and I have both seen just like, oh, this is the next new band out of this X Canadian city. And then it's like, okay, but where are their songs? Like you have 3.5 minutes to make me feel something. And it's like, your pictures look really cool. And like, you're probably a good hang and great people, but like songs just aren't there. Right. And that extends to like the world of like top 40 and everything. Right. And I'm very grateful. All the like going back to when I said I played the Set the Whale gig, like I for sure, like I only met Tyler because I worked for Music BC, and there's stuff like that. And like, in terms of like lessons and stuff, it's really like I definitely have a better understanding of the grant system. Like that's like on like a very practical level. And I've seen so many grant applications come. I saw so many come across my desk that like I can tell when some are good or some are not good anymore. But there is like practical advice such as that I like do take to this day. But also like we have a crackpot team of great management. So that kind of stuff more often than not doesn't what's the word, like flash alarms in my head anymore. But like with artists that I'm helping out, you know, people will send me their grant applications and be like, hey, can you look through this and see if it's good? And then I'll just be like, hey, you need to go into more detail about this, or like these numbers feel unrealistic given where you're at in your career.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's an ego hit for them, but sometimes you can't fake that. So,
well, that's nice of you to do that, because there's people like charging good money just to consult on,
there are
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
How much?
Well, probably not that much, because musicians don't have any money.
Yeah.
It's all based on whether they get the grant or not usually.
No.
And then something comes of it. But so like you said, like you joined Hotel Mira, you released with that EP, and the rest is kind of history. And I think it's like looking back, and I spent like the last 2 days kind of listening through the discography and songs, and
hell yeah.
And I mean, over 38 million plays on Spotify alone already, which is a huge number, right? I know that you and I could have a laugh about how little money that actually generates compared to the number 38 million, but it's still, that's just Spotify, and that's pretty fantastic in that span of time, like 3 full-length albums in that time, and all of them having generated charting singles of one way or the other. And I know, just being in Edmonton, being super familiar with our alt rock station Sonic, who plays the hell out of you guys all the time, that I'm already familiar.
I was gonna say, apparently we're being played on the hot AC in Edmonton as well.
Oh, wow. That's, oh, there you go. But I mean, everything back from like your first singles, like the This Could Be It For Me song, which they still play this shit out of like crazy over and over, in Fever Pitch and King of the World. And now they're even playing your new song, Making Progress, a whole bunch. And so lots of success that way. I think This Could Be It For Me, that was my first introduction to Hotel Mira. A big radio hit. Was that song like a signal to you guys that this could really have legs? Was it through a song like that, like catching the way it did on radio, or were there other things that really gave you that sort of real optimism?
Yeah, so This Could Be It For Me is such an interesting one for us, because we recorded that summer 2018. So we actually recorded that before we released the EP. Because basically we sat on the EP for a bit. There was like a couple scheduling conflicts that kind of like made it so like it wouldn't make sense to release the EP at this time, so we had to push it back. But because the EP came out like 13 months after we recorded it, we had written so much new material between, you know, then, right? And one song that we were just unbelievably high on was Jungle. And so we basically were like, okay, like, let's record Jungle and make it this like, and like we want to work with a producer who has like a track record of radio. Because we were like, okay, you know, like radio, you know, I grew up listening to the radio. Like I grew up listening to the Fox in Vancouver and XFM RIP in Vancouver. And it's just cool. Like you, like just being able to be on the radio, like obviously at the time, 2018, when the song came out, 2019, it's like, and now in 2025, it's like, it's still an important part of a band's like, you know, resume and like a platform to be successful on. But unfortunately for us, like artists, it doesn't carry the same weight that it did in like 2005 or whatever. But we were like, okay, let's get on radio. Like we streamed pretty well for an artist at our level back in 2018. And we've always had like a really devout international fan base, like at least vocally online. So we're like, well, let's do radio in Canada, grow Canada, blah, 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 blah. So we ended up working with a producer out of Toronto named Eric Ratz, who does like Billy Talent, Arkells, Big Wreck, Monster Truck. And he is an absolute, just a gem of a human being. But because it was our first time working with him, it was kind of like, okay, well, let's just do a song or two and let's see if this is a good fit. Because like, you know, like I think we've never worked with a producer that we've actually been like, this is not a good fit or anything like that. Like we worked with a ton of producers, especially on I'm Not Myself due to COVID. We kind of just had to work with various Vancouver producers and whatnot. But once again, getting ahead of the timeline. But with Eric, it was just a fit immediately. And Jungle was the priority. We had This Could Be It For Me in the chamber. And then he was like, well, if I'm coming out to Vancouver, like, let's just do 2 songs. And we're like, oh, okay, like we have like this other, like we sent a couple demos around. We were like pretty high on This Could Be It For Me, but we didn't know if it was like the one or anything like that.
Mhm.
And it was like, no, this song's a hit. Like, let's just do these two. But like Jungle was always the focus. And basically we recorded both of them. We released Jungle before we toured with USS in the fall of 2018. It had a light radio campaign. I believe the only people who spun it was X92 in Calgary, bless their hearts. Kind of spun out, which happens, especially like bands' first radio campaigns. I'm working with a band right now who just had one of their first radio campaigns not go as well as they thought. And I'm kind of just like, yeah, I know it sucks, but like, it's the nature of the beast sometimes.
Yeah.
But of course, like it, like, you know, when we lived it, it was like, oh, like, you know, like, are we ever going to write a song this good ever again? Like that sort of thing. Jungle's still streaming. It's like one of our highest streaming songs. So like we were, thankfully we were right about that. But, and then, so the next kick at the can, we released This Could Be It For Me. And it just shot up the charts. Like, you know, those classic, like, you know, those behind the music scenes with things where they're just like, yeah, we never thought this was going to be a hit. And you're like, that's not true. You're watching it and be like, yeah, Aerosmith obviously knew friggin' like Jenny's Got a Gun was going to be, or you know what I mean? But that's what happened to us. Like, This Could Be It For Me blew up. And like, it got to number 4 in Canada right before COVID. And so it was kind of one of these things where it's just like, oh, we kind of like achieved our dreams, but now we can't do anything about it because now we're in lockdown.
What a feeling.
Oh yeah, it was, it was pretty, honestly, like fully candidly, it was very, very heavy at the time. Just being like, I've accomplished something I've always wanted to do, and like, but we can't go out and tour it, right? And it was one of these things where it was like because it's happened so early on in COVID as well, we're like, we have no idea how long this is going to go. How can we sustain this momentum? Because we released the album that This Could Be It For Me is on is called Perfectionism. And that was released 2 weeks before lockdown, because obviously we had no idea that was what was going to happen.
Yeah.
We had our EP release party where we oversold the Biltmore 2 weeks before. So far, it doesn't seem like a super spreader event, but there were a lot of people there. But that was February 29th, 2020. And
wow.
But then it just became one of these things where like we were riding high, lockdown came, and then it was like, oh, it's going to be 2 weeks. Okay, cool. Like, let's make these plans. Oh, now it's 2 months. Now it's 6 months. Now it's 2 years. And we're just like, okay, well, that was our shot, you know, like what's next kind of thing, right? But things turned out all right. But at the time, it was like really quite heavy. And but yeah, it got to number 4 in Canada, got us a lot of recognition because of it. And when we got out of lockdown, our first tour back was with the Zolas in 2021, fall of 2021. And didn't miss a beat. Everyone loved it, and everyone was so familiar with our songs, because like the amount of times I heard people be like, Perfectionism was my album of COVID, because it came out so right before it. So all people had time to do was just like spin this record. So that was kind of cool. And like I said, like things turned out all right, but like there was a genuine panic after, at least for me, when This Could Be It.
No, I mean, that's got to be the most disheartening thing. I mean, you know, that feeling, and I remember it so well, of like, how do I get everything I can get out of this? In other words, as an artist, like you said, all you want is to get on the radio and then get charting or some version of, you know, validation for your efforts and your belief.
Success.
Yeah, some measurable success, and not just the kind to, you know, prove to your parents it wasn't a waste of time, but prove to yourself and to your peers. And then when you get that, you have this feeling, put COVID aside, like a feeling of panic, even just like, how do I keep this going? And you already identified part of that narrative might be, I don't know if I'll be able to do it again, you know, all that kind of stuff, especially when you're just trying to build something that becomes pretty significant. So I can't imagine heaping the pandemic on in the literal, like, you're not allowed to go and do anything. But I think it's an interesting observation you made too about people making it their COVID album, and like people mostly paused or stopped all releases starting in 2020, right? Like Phoebe Bridgers put that album out like right early at the start of the pandemic. Record. It's an incredible record, and everyone else put a pause on their records, and then all of a sudden that became like the indie album everybody listened to. It didn't hurt that it was a great record, but yeah, that's got to have a lot of panic to it. I mean, and that song to me, I still listen to it. If I still hear it, it's still,
Oh.
without being able to articulate, like, why is this song so good? Or why is this such a hook on the radio at first, right? It feels a little out of place with the songs it's usually played or sandwiched between. And maybe it goes back to what you said before. Like, you can't, like, a good song is just a good song. Like, there's something in the mixture, there's something in the baking and the ingredients that make it what it is. I want to call out a couple things based on what you're saying, which I'm interested in your perspective. Like, you mentioned touring when we were playing with the Zolas, and even you talked about that sound and thinking about, you know, working with a producer with a mind for the radio. So there's kind of two streams I've been interested in. I actually had made notes about. One that I've been curious is, because you've had a really good string of radio songs, and to be honest, like, and I listen pretty critically as a musician in a good way, don't worry. But like, the radio songs sound very cohesive, like from If It Can Be It to Me right up to Making Progress. Like, all those radio singles sound like they fit the same band. They could even be on the same album to a degree, which is pretty significant to develop that kind of sound for radio. So I guess my first question about that is, like, and you sort of half answered it, but how you're developing and how you're writing music as a group. Is it like, I'm not going to use the word that there's a formula, but there's something that you're trying to tap into that, you know, both feels right to you and has success. And then the other half of that question, speaking of the Zolas, and I think of another band like Fake Shark and some others that you're label mates with. Inside of that sound you're working on, I feel like for a time, or for quite a while, there's been a Vancouver sound in this kind of alt rock sphere. And I'm wondering your perspective on that, if that's a valid outsider's opinion.
To answer the first question, so we get asked this, like, I've never been asked it on like a public forum, but like, you know, like my friends who aren't in music will ask me, be like, hey, like, are you guys like selling out or something like that? And like the actual, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but like, it's like a, you know, it's when bands have a lot of, like, you know, commercial success, that is something people think about, right?
Yeah.
And genuinely, like my favorite bands are the Killers and the 1975, and it's just like I like, the joke that I make is, all I'm doing is chasing When You Were Young by the Killers. Like that like, to me, that is like the ultimate song in a way.
That's what all of us do from the minute you pick up a guitar.
You
start trying to recreate the thing that made you feel something.
Right? Exactly. And like, so all of my favorite bands have been commercially successful in like an alt rock, cool but still poppy way. So it's just like, I'm just like, whenever I, like, Charlie and I write songs together, we're just sort of, and Charlie is cut from the same cloth as me when it comes to that sort of thing. Like, we're just sort of programmed to write, you know, 3 choruses and a catchy hook, you know, like it's like I'm not like, and I love all kinds of music. Like, you know, like if a band wants to go on like an 8-minute jazz odyssey, I'll be like, yeah, that fucking rules, you know? But when it comes to Hotel Mira, like that's like, we don't really sit down and we're just like, okay, how do we write a hit? You know, it's just like, we just write these songs. And then, like, because Charlie is such a prolific writer, like, legitimately, for the album I Am Not Myself, which came after Perfectionism, we had 60 demos, like 60, like, and how like, I would say 95% of Hotel Mira songs start is that Charlie will send like an acoustic voice note, and we'll kind of, and it'll be like some of them will be like 7 minutes long, but not in the sense of like, this is how I think the song should go, but he'll just like put like 5 ideas for verse lyrics just kind of like in one song kind of thing. And we'll be like, actually, you know, like, this chunk is this is what resonated with me the most kind of thing. And then we'll weed that so for I'm Not Myself, it was 60 to 20 to, and then we recorded, how many did we record? There's 12 on the record, and then the follow-up EP were like the B-sides. So we recorded 16. And then, so from there, I think we have a pretty good like elimination process, for lack of a better way of saying it, to kind of get to like what we want, what our ideal album would sound like with this, you know, what we're going for in mind. In terms of the Vancouver sound, I think there sort of is. I think that's like when people say that, I know what they're talking about. But I think that's also like like we would always joke, like if we wanted to get like the ultimate Vancouver band, we should just like call ourselves like Ocean Trees or something. But I don't think I don't think it's as true today as it was like maybe 10 years ago, but there definitely was point. Kind of that's like that, like there definitely like was that, you know, just like
there was an alt rock consistency that it definitely wasn't a Toronto thing as far as like Canadian music sound goes. So
it was like more carefree. I felt Toronto's always been a bit grittier. And there's nothing wrong with either end of that spectrum, for the record.
You know, that's a good point. Like go back 20 years and put two supergroups up: Broken Social Scene, Toronto; New Pornographers, Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
New Pornographers, a much lighter feeling sound, right? Both incredible. Like, so that's a good point.
I think the Vancouver sound is just like, it's like we could listen to this at the beach vibe.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's kind of what it boils down to. I don't know if we fit it. Like we've been told that we don't fit into the typical Vancouver sound a lot, which sorry about, I don't know where that came from. Which I kind of think it's cool that people think that, but also in the same time, it's like we are from there, so like, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You say like, there's this sort of a jump to the stereotype back on my first question of like, are you selling out if you are writing for the radio? If you just lock it into that simplistic of a concept, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just impossible to lock it in. And that's probably where, if I was a musician, somebody asked me that question, I would always start screaming like right away, like, and it would be visible because I don't know how to get the right thing out to make sure it's going to be clear. And it probably mattered to me because there's not a version of selling out when the first time you play music, like everything you do artistically, creatively, or even not, to be honestly, in any version of performative, whether it's trying out for a job and a new skill set that you went to school for, you're going to take the data of how do people respond to me. Like in our social constructs, it's the exact same way, right? Like if people respond poorly to this, I'm going to change my behavior. Like it's just wired into us. Like as a creative, if you write a song with like just, if you decide I'm going to go the Dylan route, I'm going to write 7 long verses.
Yeah.
And everybody in your circles like tunes out after the first one. How many times are you going to do that before you change, right? Or like you get shaped by both what inspires you, but also what people respond to out of you.
Yeah.
So any version of writing for something is, you know, it's always going to be driven by that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can also tell when like artists chase trends a lot. And like one of the things I really like enjoy about Hotel Mira is that like, I don't think, like, leave it in the comments if you disagree, but like I don't think we chase trends. Like did you remember like it was like in 2018 when everyone was just like suddenly a pop punk band and stuff like that? And it's like, it is one of those things where it's just like, as soon as a trend is out, it's already over. Like the wave has crested. Like you can't just like get in the studio, do a pop punk record and then release it 7 months after this, like, you know, that sort of thing. Right. And like when it comes to like what I look for in songs specifically, like again, working with like the emerging artists I've worked with, right? Like, and with something that I say that is just like a bit of a hot take and like not everyone loves it, but it's like anyone can write a 5-minute song that no one cares about. You know, like you can just like you can get all your ideas out there. You can have no hooks. You can say what you want to say. And like you can play as many chords as you want, like play your like, you know, sus4s and add 9s and like, you know, show people that you know how a scale works. But I think it's cooler if you have 3 minutes to make me feel something and you accomplish that. Like that is genuinely like a harder criteria to me, you know, like it's just like, okay, you have to have like the simplicity of being able to catch my attention, but also lyrical content that's deep enough that makes me hit and like, you know, like not, and that's withstanding like production and like guitar tones and like choices on like all like how everything comes together. And so like I think that's what we kind of try to achieve in Hotel Mira. I don't want to speak for the rest of the guys because that's just how I feel. Like Cole could probably just be like, yeah, the drums sound good. So I don't know. But yeah, so that's
I think you're accurate. I think you're accurate, Mike. I think and time is also the thing that's involved in that too. Yeah. So I think critically anybody looking back at your 3 full-length albums would see that there's the same thread in there. and that's important. And then there's growth in there. I mean, I read last night, I was reading back on some other like articles written about you guys, and
Yeah.
you know, and it to your credit, it's actually hard to find critiques. But I
Hell
like
yeah.
trying to find them on the
Yeah.
internet. And I remember
They're out
reading a
there.
couple. Oh, there are. I read
Yeah.
one about just like an inconsistency, I think, in the Perfectionism album. And the truth is, I go back and I listen again this morning, and the new record, Pity Party, is definitely the most cohesive start to
Yeah.
finish. And
Yeah.
that just shows growth, right? And it's not trend chasing. It's
Yeah. I can give insight into that if you would like.
I'd love it.
So with so Perfectionism was like kind of just our first time doing anything of that sort, if that makes sense. We were like, okay, like let's do a full length album with Eric Ratz, like that rules, right? And then we did it because it was like these are I think there's 11 songs on that record. These are our 11 best songs that we have going right now. Let's like this is the record, right? And like we were young. Yeah. I mean, like we were young in the band. We were still like late 20s, early 30s, but like you know what I mean. By musician standards of emerging artists, we weren't. You know, actually, let me go back and say, start chasing art at any age. It doesn't fucking matter. And don't let age get in the way of anything. So ignore that joke.
You're talking to me right now. You're talking right to me right now.
Yeah.
Conversation. Okay.
But yeah, so Perfectionism was kind of like we're like, we kind of don't know what we're doing. Like, we know what we want to do, but like, how do we do this? Like, what does this look like? What does releasing an album look like? You know, like Japanese Girls did it. We weren't a part of, or like the three of us weren't a part of that. So with I'm Not Myself, the follow-up record, bit of a tricky situation because obviously COVID, we couldn't really travel to record. Eric lives in Toronto. And if you recall, Toronto had like crazy lockdown stuff. So we ended up recording that album kind of over the course of a year and a half with different producers. Like, so we did, I think there were like 5 or 6 different producers on that record. So Ryan Worsley did Fever Pitch, Parker Bosley of the Gay 90s, and Fur Trade. And he's just a brilliant musician. He did eventually Everything Once, Mama, and Alone in America. James Younger of Yukon Blonde did King of the World, and also View from the Barstool, but that was on the EP. Ryan Worsley also did Waste Away off the EP. And then we worked with Louise Burns, who's an amazing musician who I played in her band for a little bit.
She's great.
She's unbelievable. She did Amanda, and then Steve Bays did Vampire, Dancing with the Moonlight, Water and Concrete, and The Age of Detachment. And then we actually worked with Adam Casper, which was crazy because he's like kind of legendary. He did like Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age. He was like Soundgarden and Pearl Jam's guy. He worked with Kurt Cobain. Like, he was like a 90s Seattle grunge dude.
Yeah.
And it was amazing getting to work with him. Like, just like the greatest war stories you've ever heard. And so, but he moved up to Vancouver over COVID, and he kind of reached out to our label being like, hey, I hear you're the label in town. You got any artists that want to record? I'll cut like a really sick rate. I just want to get into the scene. So we did Silver Lake with him and 2 songs off the EP, Oh Sunshine and Verona. But and all of them were mixed by the same person, Tony Hoffer, out down in Texas, because we were like, okay, well, if there's so many producers, we want like the same glue basically to make it not sound too out of place. And the biggest review, the biggest critique we had on I'm Not Myself is that it's like kind of all over the place, and like it is, and like we kind of like in interviews we kind of were like, it's like a playlist, you know, like, you know, sometimes you just like it's like you go to a party and 3 people are adding songs to a playlist. And I like that take. But what I really liked about it is that I think it displays how far we can take our sound with still being like, oh yeah, that's Hotel Mira. I think we did some really weird creative decisions and like really went for it in a couple places that I don't think I ever thought we would go. Like all the auto-tune on Age of Detachment, or just like some crazy arrangements and like some really like some wild thing. Like if you go back and listen to that record, like especially the back half, it's just like, what's going on here? But for Pity Party, which is the album we just put out in March, we went back to Eric Ratz and we were just like, let's just bring guitars back, you know, like let's just do a straightforward, cohesive rock record. Obviously, I would also say I'm Not Myself was notably synthier, which is cool. I love synths. But we were like, okay, let's dial it back and just like fucking arena rock, you know, like kind of just like make it big, make it huge, but still quintessentially us, you know? But so, and then with Eric, he just like reined us in, and like all one producer mixed by Eric as well. And we were just like, you know, guitars, like bit of synths, let's just write some really great songs. And that's why I think Pity Party feels cohesive, because it's our third record. We set an objective. We kind of got being weird out of our system, let's say, and then just went for it. And I'm really proud of the results.
Yeah. I love hearing the old BTS on you know, the difference between those two. And it's just so like, it for you, it's like, well, of course, like this is expected. Like we went this route, and this is the, you know, this is the product as a result. And you know, critics are just going to look through one little lens of varying sizes all the time. So that kind of stuff doesn't really matter. I wanted to ask you, if I could, a little bit about Charlie, just because like I only have the outsider view, right? I have the fan, the music listener, to a degree, music critic type of lens, where everything I see is curated and performative to a degree, right? Like, and so, you know, you form your opinions. And he's got a very, like, there's a lot of moments in his voice where it's the guy from Block Party and those early 2000s Block Party stuff, which
Silent Alarm is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Silent Alarm is a Desert Island album for me.
It's one of the greats, right?
One of the greats.
And
that's right back where I was on the new record, is us trying to do Block Party.
Well, there you go. See, and nobody else, I haven't heard anybody else do that. So it's immediately got this draw to me. And then I've heard some people, like when I was reading last night, describing kind of his stage persona, because there's a lot of physicality to it. And so they were saying Iggy Pop, but I don't see Iggy Pop in him at all. I see like a Michael Hutchence swagger of the INXS days, because there's a brooding swagger to it. And I mean, the longer hair doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
either,
he's got Michael Hutchence as well.
Has he? Okay, that makes sense. But he's not Michael Hutchence, because I feel like with the incredible depth and thoughtfulness in the lyrics, it's like a Morrissey version of Michael Hutchence or something. So I'm trying to piece together my own version of what this would be. But this is all, again, the typical, like if I was a music writer, I'd be doing it one way. As a music fan, I'm doing it another way. I'm looking at things that are curated and performative, right? Even if it's natural and just him being himself, that's the way it gets presented. Yeah. And this happens in bands. I mean, if lots of people probably sat down and talked to the bass or guitar player of a lot of bands who had a very iconic frontman. And so I'm like, I don't want to miss the chance to ask you, being, as you already described, close friends, and a privilege to work with, and you're inspired by his highly artistic nature. I'm just curious, like, how do you see Charlie? How do you describe Charlie? Like, because we only get this one version.
Yeah, I would say he's one of the most genuine and authentic people I know. Like, he is driven and hardworking in a way that, like, I can't sometimes keep up with him. Like, a funny story is, like, when we finished writing and finished recording Perfectionism, he came back to us with like 12 new demos, like literally the week later. And he sent it to all the band emails, and he sent it to Eric Ratz, and Eric Ratz basically replied being like, wow, like what? Like, you guys just finished. What are you doing? Yeah, no, he's like also like on a personal level, he's like an amazing friend. Like, he will lend an ear to anyone at any given time. If I was going through any, like, you know, emotional things in my personal life, I know I could lean on him to give like very good advice on it. Yeah, no, he's like he's a very great person. Like, the stage presence thing is very funny, because like it's so interesting to me, because like I'm in my own zone when I play. So like I don't really see what Charlie's doing unless he's like really in front of me. But like every now and then I'll look over and be like, oh, he's on the floor, cool. And like or like I'll like, obviously we get tagged in videos like after, and I'll like scroll, because like, you know, like the impression of everyone, like, oh, what does the band look like post show? They look like this, you know, like, and for those listening on audio, I'm scrolling through my phone right now. And but so like we'll get tagged in these videos, and I'll look through all of them, and then I'll be like, whoa, when did Charlie do that? Or like anything like that. Like, but like I think people think he's like really like he gives all this energy on stage, and I think like people expect that from him all the time. And like that's like he's also just like a person, like we all suffer from like burnout and just like being tired, especially on tour. So yeah, and I don't know, like he's genuinely a great dude, like a really cool, really cool guy. We send each other just like the dumbest memes, and like I don't think he takes himself too seriously either, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people walk away and they start to attribute a long history of cliches when they see, like, is he like the tortured artist type person because he's got such deep lyrics and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's always nice to hear a bandmate's perspective on somebody like that. I think it's definitely got for you, it's probably had a lot of value to feel like, oh shit, I got like a really great personality. Like that goes so far in a band, especially, I don't know, when you first joined it. Like, so like the band that I had toured with, right? I never forget when I first got invited to come and like do our first jam together, and coming back home, and my wife was like, how did that go? Like, what do you think? And I was like, the songs are really good, and the two brothers are really handsome. I think this has a shot.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately it's so true, right?
It is. I mean, hey, I'm blessed with blessed with a band that looks good too. So, but no, like I also like I genuinely attribute like whenever I run into people on like in the industry, or like people who like kind of are a bit more in tune with what I do, the number one thing I get asked all the time is just like, you guys are on tour all the fucking time. Like, how do you like find a moment to breathe? They're like, do you guys get sick of each other? And like the reality is, like, the four of us in Hotel Mira are genuinely like best friends. Like, I've always said that if I were ever to get married or whatever, like my wedding party would be 5 people, Brendan Batchelor, another one of my close friends, and the 3 guys. Like it is like we are that close knit, and that allows the sustainability to have like open conversations without ego getting involved, whether they be like great conversations or like tougher conversations, because like the road grinds you down and you just have like these things that you need to talk about, especially interpersonally and whatnot. But I do think that like adds to the longevity of the band, because like I've toured with people that they just become unraveled on the road. Like it's just like it's like your dream gig until you do it and you realize it's like kind of a nightmare, because like you're away from home and like your creature comforts aren't there. But we don't care about that. So it works.
Well, I was going to ask you about longevity, since like this, like the Hotel Mira transformation is like, going on 8 years here, right? So I mean, that's pretty significant, and you just sort of answered it, and fully relatable. I mean, 10 plus years since my band breakup, they're still some of my favorite people in the world, and we send each other memes on our text thread. All this time later, we're still making the same jokes that we made in a van driving around. And I mean, you see this stuff in documentaries and whatever, right? And I don't think it can get undersold how actually important and what actually keeps people together and really drives people to have a career is the people you hitch your saddle to. So
it's if you like, I think so. I have friends obviously that aren't in music that are just like, oh, like you're living the dream, aren't you? And like, yes, like without getting into like, if I just kind of want to not dive into that in that moment, I'll be like, yeah, I am. But like the reality is, it's like the hardest I've ever worked, and it's grueling and it's tough, and it's like you read like going back to the wrestling thing off the top, like you read all these things where it's just like, I was on the road and I missed my baby's first steps and stuff like that. Like that stuff is real. And like obviously, like I don't have kids, and that's not a direct metaphor for me, but like, I've missed weddings. I've missed like one of my best friends just had a kid and I haven't met them yet, and that was in like January. Like to that point, we'll be meeting him next week, or meeting them next week. But like, you know what I mean, right? Like it's just kind of like it's this like priority that you have to take that like I think a lot of people don't understand, because like, and like as is intentional, because you like going back to what I was saying about like only looking cool on social media, like I'm only posting the accomplishments, like I'm not out here storying like, oh yeah, another 12-hour drive. I mean, sometimes I am, but you know what I mean, right? Like it's like people only see the good. And there's a lot of good, of course, but like there's a lot of like there's actually like they don't sponsor me, but like there's this I can't even remember the name of it, so if they did sponsor me, I'd be a terrible ad read. But it's basically like it's like a mental health for touring musicians Instagram account that's kind of popped up lately. Okay. And it's really, really cool because like they would it's like kind of formatted in a way that I think is a little cheesy, but like the content itself is like, and what it has to say is like, I read it and I was like, damn, like whoever is behind this account gets it, you know? I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll send it to you.
It's not the Fit on Tour.
No.
That's a friend of mine from the Lemon Foundation, but
okay. Yeah.
But I know what you mean.
I'll send it to you when it's this tour at this tour life.
Okay. I love that you brought that up actually, because my very last point is like, I've watched that, you guys don't shy away from world issues or things. Yeah. Some of those tours, the last tour through the States, some of that shit on Instagram was the funniest, like the person giving the finger
that was
the whole time. And then Charlie getting everybody to just raise their middle finger.
And then they put their finger down.
And then Charlie put it down.
Charlie crushed that. That was a moment for me where I was like, I saw that video after and I was like, all of this happened? Like obviously I saw the raising the middle finger thing, but I was just like locked into my world. So
yeah, I mean, but inside of all those sort of things I post, I've also been struck by the vulnerability to talk about mental health issues and stuff like that. So you bring this up about being on tour a whole lot. And I always found that people's perception about us being on tour was so interesting, right? It's like, maybe I was only out for 3 weeks out of the last 6 months, but because of socials, somebody thinks that I'm always out on tour. And or what it really looks like you said, we only post the best stuff. We don't usually post the not best stuff. And the soul sucking moments where I, sitting in a van waiting for a gig to start or whatever. So, I mean, that was part of you sort of half answered, because I was going to ask, with this much longevity, how have you guys figured out how to deal with some of that challenges, both whether it be taking care of your bodies or stuff like that? So is there other things that you guys have figured out other than, discovering a new tool or app that really has some good resources? I'm
not entirely sure. Like, so we were on the road, I counted, for like 172 days last year. Like, it was wild, like a real run. And this year, like, I don't think we'll be cresting that, but like, we're at it, like this kind of 3-month run where I've been I'm calling being at home a run. That's how tour pilled I am. But, this 3 months where I've been home has probably been the longest I've been at home since like maybe summer 2023, like 2 years. So, it's pretty wild. But in terms of like we just have like a really good routine. Like, we try to eat healthy. Like, how I just like, because I think everyone, like, I think the stories of like Motley Crue in the 80s and stuff like that have like ruined, like have like distorted people's perceptions on like what being in a band is like. It's like, oh, where's the after party? It's like, oh, like I'm going back to the hotel and playing Nintendo Switch. Like, I am not going out, like I have to drive for 14 hours tomorrow from Denver to San Antonio, like it's like, so there's that perception. And I think the thing, like trying to eat healthy, trying to stay healthy, and like trying to make each other laugh, but like in a non-bullying way, it's like also very nice. But like the way I describe tour to people is like, it's like, okay, like imagine, like, let's say you're on the road for 4 weeks, 28 days, right? Imagine if you were just like living your day-to-day life at home, nothing changed, except you're now eating McDonald's twice a day or you like 2 of your meals every day come from a gas station. And then but that's the only change in your day-to-day life, right? Like everything else is like normal. You'd probably be like, that sucks. Like how, like I couldn't do that. And it's like, okay, but now add taking like, being away from home, missing your loved ones, like I had like, if I can be very candid, like when we did our UK tour last year, it was an 18-day run. And on day 3, I got a message from my partner at the time that our dog jumped off something too high and got paralyzed. And like I had to finish the tour, and like everything's fine in the end, and like it does have a happy ending in terms of like my dog is like fine, like she recovered great, and like bringing her back, nursing her back to recovery, and like teaching her how to. I know so much about dog neurology, by the way. If anyone has any questions about that, but that was like one of the most fulfilling things of last year that happened outside of like music success. But like that happened when I was on tour, and it was like day 2, day 3, day 4 into like an 18-day run. I'm overseas, so like I'm getting updates in like I have to wake up at 10 and wait till like 7 p.m. that night to hear from anyone on like what's going on, like did the surgery go okay, stuff like that, right? And like, you know, still have to like perform on stage every night and like, you know, give a good show and like get a good night of sleep and not be like messed up, and like stuff like that is like, you know, like, and I can't exactly be like, hey guys, sorry, gotta go home, because it's just like, you can't. Yeah. So stuff like that, it's like, it's really, but like at the same time, like I've seen so much of the world, and like I've seen so much of the world with like 3 of my best friends, and like I can't take that away from anything, right? So yeah, it's just trying to figure that out. And like for me, like I've just kind of understood that that's part of the life now, you know? Yeah. And like we kind of just like, we kind of joke that we just like flip a switch and we're in tour mode, but that's because we just are so experienced at it at this point. Yeah. But yeah, like I think there were some growing pains, especially early on. I'm thankful the shows are really good. Like if like, you know, like if the shows sucked, it would be a lot harder. But yeah, I'm like, our worldwide audience, it's absolutely lights out. So I can't complain in like, you know, like selling out Manchester, selling out London, selling out like the places that are, it's like what? Like our band?
Well, another thing that can't be undersold to people is how many legs that gives a band.
Oh yeah.
Support. Like it's just so easy for us to be like, do I feel like getting out and going out of the house tonight, or do I not? And yet that, you know, that inkling is like everything to a band to have like a full show and have some good energy and make such a difference in your life. Yeah, like 100%. You said, because your days are on the road are spent like driving or traveling in some way for long periods of time, waiting around.
Yeah, hurry up and wait.
You know, in our regular life, we're busy. We don't wait around for anything. But you go on tour, and you're sitting waiting for stuff all the time.
100%.
And it's a terrible, shitty feeling. And so people make the difference, right? So that's pretty awesome. Yeah,
no, it's been good. It's like ultimately, I know the dog story is very sad, and like that, and I will be the first to say like that is easily the worst thing that's happened to me on tour, like in terms of like how it affected like stuff but like obviously that's just like it's traveling for work, you know, like if you just
And I'm also sad to hear that you're not with your previous partner, which I was going to ask you off screen, but I haven't talked to you in for so long, so that's
fine. That very amicable, good breakup. It's all good. Okay, good. Don't worry about that.
Okay, good. Well, then we're good. We're happy about all of that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, happy ending.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I could sidebar off into wrestling and all kinds of things, because
that's for our other podcast.
That's for another time. Yeah. I do want to ask you though before we wrap up. I do also want to say before we wrap up, like the band is like, I'm Edmonton based. You guys are coming to play Arcade Days.
Yes.
Which last night I was like, I wonder if is there an actual circuit for like Canadian midway like shows, like every city has their own like Stampede, K-Days.
I would imagine whatever. There has
to be. You could get on that circuit and just play all of those. But then you guys have a pretty significant tour again in the fall, speaking of all the touring. So that's pretty exciting. And you got some Canadian dates in Eastern Canada and a whole lot of America again, it looked like. Yeah.
When's this episode coming out?
This episode will probably be mid-August.
Okay, so I can say this then. Yeah, we'll be playing Midway December 11th.
Oh,
we haven't announced it yet because
you have some more shows to tag on.
Yeah, we haven't announced Western Canada yet because we have the festivals.
Yeah.
So like once the festivals finish, we'll be announcing early August. So I can tell you right now we'll be.
Oh, that's Midway. So exciting.
Yeah,
that's a great room for you guys. Have you played it before?
We've opened it twice, I want to say.
Okay.
We've never headlined. So it was time for, like, because we sold out Starlight. We sold out Starlight, just Starlight once, and then we sold out Starlight with Temple open. So, and apparently that was the first time that happened since 2017. So I thought that was a cool little moment.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Allegedly, legend has it. And so we're
if you heard it from Tyson, he doesn't bullshit anybody. So that's great.
Yeah, no. But yeah, so we'll be at Midway December 11th. If this episode is, like, it should be announced by the time this episode's out. But if it's not out, it's not announced.
I'll be careful.
This is a spoiler.
I'll be careful.
Wait, no, it's all good. We're like an hour 20 into it. If you made it this far, you've earned it.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, my last question for you. I loved you've referenced a couple times because I was curious. I'm always curious what somebody does and what your interests or growing interests have been outside of the band, which can't occupy all of your time. Like you said, you got 3 months of relative downtime.
Yeah.
But you referenced working with other up and coming artists and either in some informal consulting or formal, or even helping, I'm sure, maybe in some production and all this other kind of stuff that you have skills in. So I'm wondering, I love to hear somebody tell me who I should be paying attention to, who might not be on my radar, that you're excited about.
Okay, well, I'm contractually obliged to give Carmine out of Victoria a shout out. I'm producing. I produced all their stuff that's out right now, and we have a couple of things in the chamber. I also co-produced with Kevy from Fake Shark, a song called Jawbreaker by a band called Cold Fame. It's currently number 14 on the Canadian alt rock charts. For someone who's only dipping their toes into production, having a song in the top 15 is kind of surreal. Yeah, man, that's honestly sweet. Like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Who else? There's a lot of great bands out of Victoria right now. Dead Summer is like a kind of like a DFA style drum and bass band. They fucking rip. They have one song out. I'm working with a band called Trophy Dad. Great dudes. In Vancouver, Uncle Strut is going to be the next big band out of Vancouver. Like, I'm going to call it right now. Like, I am absolutely like Owen Nolan All-Star Game 98 calling my shot, pointing at the top corner. And other than that, like, I'm trying to think of who, like, I mean, like, they're not an emerging artist, but, like, you know, the OBGMs always deserve a shout out. They just got shortlisted for the Polaris Prize. They're just like dudes out of Toronto who I fucking love them dearly.
They're really good.
Yeah, man, just like there's a lot of great stuff happening. You kind of just got to look under these nooks and crannies. And and Fake Shark just put out Monster, which I think is the song of the summer. Oh,
well, then we're gonna go and hype that and listen to it. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's really good. It's really good. Kevy co-wrote 6-8 songs off Pity Party. So that was kind of like our beginning of our songwriting foray. Yeah. And then now we're just working with a bunch of other artists because it worked.
I love it. it. Okay, actually, I have one more question for you.
Yeah,
Mike.
Hit me.
Okay. So what do you think of the John Cena heel turn?
Okay. I think it's good. Like, when it started, like it hit the shock value that it needed. So how long do you have? No. So it hit the shock value it needed. I think it was necessary for his run right now because he's just not in the physical shape he needs to be to put like those long matches on. Yeah. My one problem that I have with it feels like it's John Cena playing a bad guy. You know what I mean? Like it feels like he's playing a character. Like I think he's killing the promos. I think the content of it, and it's like cool to watch. But every now and then there's like a level of like, I don't know if this is authentic. But I think that might be just a symptom of seeing John Cena as not a heel for my entire life, basically. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, he's so good on the mic. And if you want to make him like a bit of a bastard, he's still so good at it.
Yeah, but exactly.
I get what you're saying. Like, it's still sort of underneath that. You're like, okay. And we've seen him as an actor. Okay, the spin-off question to that then would probably be just your overall feeling about how WWE's handling all of these later stage guys. Because it feels it feels like a lot of them are later stage, taking center stage for some reason.
Yeah, so I do, like, the average age of like a WWE main eventer is like kind of gone 6 to 7 years older. Like Cody Rhodes just turned 40.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and like Gunther, who I think is fantastic, but is also like you know, like he's touted as this like newcomer of sorts, but he's like 37, you know, like he's like, not that there's anything wrong with being 37, like I'm counting on the clock to that, but like I don't know, like it is interesting. I think there's like a young crop coming up. I don't know if you watch AEW, but All In last the other day just absolutely blew my face off.
Was that the John Moxley getting torn up match?
Hangman Page, John Moxley, that was unbelievable. I think wrestling is like flying pretty high right now, like as a whole. Like I think it all will always have that like the, you know, the naysayer vibe to it, because, you know, like it's one of those things where like if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, well, like, you know,
very true.
Good luck.
Very true.
But I think it's in a boom period. I really like Goldberg's retirement. I think was handled pretty well. I think going over or Gunther winning was the right move. SummerSlam will be good. I'm not too concerned. I watched a ton of wrestling this weekend between Great American Bash, Saturday Night's Main Event, All In, and it was so funny. We so our load in for the Wild Horse gig. So actually, this is an unbelievably mundane story that I just have to share. All In. I'm looking forward to this. AEW's All In. It's like this 6-hour event on Saturday. And because we have the Sheryl Crow show on the Friday, we were flying home on Saturday, and I was like, fuck, like I'm going to be, you know, flying home during this show. Like I'm going to miss it. Like what do I do? And then basically it was airing it started at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And so because we got this gig on the Saturday, I was like, okay, perfect. Like I got to find a place in Calgary to watch it. And could not find a place in Calgary to watch it. Like everyone's just so Stampede oriented that it was like, okay, whatever. I'll just watch it on my laptop or whatever. And then, but I was like, okay, but like because of how the nature of these gigs worked, we had to check out one hotel and go into another hotel. This next hotel that we went to was like right next door to the venue. So I was like, okay, cool. We have to load in at 7. And I'm like, okay, check out at 11. Probably can't check into this new hotel till 3. I called them and I'm like, hey, what are hey, we're playing the Wild Horse Saloon tonight. Is there any chance you have any rooms ready that we can just like get into? Like, you know, like it would be, I was like, yeah, it sucks carrying gear around and like all not like I want to watch a wrestling event, because they would have been like, what are you talking about? And so they're like, yeah, no problem. Like we can get your rooms ready. So for when you get here, I'm like, boys, we're going. Like we have to get there before 1. And then so pop my laptop open, 1 p.m. Bell rings. I'm watching it. Main event starts at like 6:10, and I'm like, damn, I'm getting pretty close to load in here. Like, hopefully, like between entrances, match, and post match, I'm like, we're this is a tight like little plan I have going. I think like show went off the air at like 6:56, and I'm like, perfect. Shut the laptop, grab my bass, go downstairs, load in, sound check, play the gig.
Perfect.
And I was like, what a weekend.
That's everything coming up, Mike Noble. That's what that is.
Absolutely.
Right,
I was wearing my flood pants and everything.
Well, I love that, man.
Hell yeah.
These are the things I always appreciate about you. But now I get to add the fact that you came and did the podcast with me. I've been trying to get you on here all through my season 1, but like you indicated, you're very busy. But the fact that you hung in there with me, dude, super appreciative, man.
It's been a blast. Like if you ever I'm down to run this back if you ever need to. If you ever want me to get a hold of anyone for an interview, I can do that too. It's been a great time.
That's the sweetest. I really appreciate it, and I probably will, because I'm learning how much I have to go back to the relational side of this industry to make this thing happen. Yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate all this time that you gave me, and I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you when you come through Edmonton for sure.
I'll see you in 8 days.
That would be fantastic. So,
hell yeah.
Okay, well, enjoy whatever little break that you have coming up here before the whole machine rolls again, and all the best to you and the band.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, man.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Take it easy.
Hey, I'm Alexi. Stick around for post-fame with me and my dad.
Maybe technology will be our friend. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I feel like I haven't really seen you other than maybe a couple of car trips back and forth in the last number of days.
For like days, yeah.
Days and days. Nobody likes that.
Nope, rude.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Well, it is what it is. But here we are. We get to do this together. So we are going to talk about second episode back in season 2. is Hotel Mira, represented in this case by my friend Mike Noble, who took the call with me to talk about the band and his life and our shared love of wrestling and all kinds of... I felt like there were a lot of tangents. Was that accurate to you? Would you suggest that maybe we did a number of tangents?
There was a couple, but none of them had me feeling like I needed to go in and go forward 15 seconds,
that's just so kind of you to say.
They were good tangents.
Okay. Boy, you sure know how to put my mind at ease. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was obviously, I've said this on quite a number of podcasts before, but it's fun for me. Like, just, he has an energy, and there was a couple of these in season 1, right? Where there are people that I really like, but also haven't seen for 10 years in person type thing, or talked to in a long time. And so that energy makes its way into the podcast, the start of the podcast, at least. I'm always afraid that that's the tangent I'll go down, is just, I want to catch up with people.
That energy is only seen by you, because if you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have known.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like, it just seemed like you guys were like, you knew each other, but you weren't like, besties.
Yeah,
but you aren't. So, like, appropriate.
No, we aren't. Yeah, that's fair enough then. I know that, like, in season 1, like, there was a few of them. Like, I know when I got on the call with Tamara Beatty, there was just a lot of like, I love to see your face. It's so great. Mm-hmm. It's been too long. And my friend Shauna Adeline was very similar in that case, I think. There's just some of that. But okay, that's cool. That's
Good
cool
stuff.
Yeah. But it's one of those weird ones where, like, I'm sort of broadcasting the band, because that's essentially, I want to talk to him about his life in the band. But I'm not talking to the whole band. I kind of talk to one person in a band. But yeah, it's just, I thought having his perspective was a really cool one, because besides being in the band, he's just really tight with the lead singer, who has a big influence on what that band has become. Yeah. And he does a lot, I think, of the business side. Obviously they have people now and teams and agents and managers, that kind of stuff. But, he's very well versed in the business side. So he's kind of had his hands and vision of how that's worked out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fair. You know what I like, though, is because you mentioned that he's so close to, like, Charlie, is I went and, like, read a couple, like, interviews that the band had taken with different, like, magazines, people, etc. And so many of his answers, like Mike's answers, were, like, related to the band being so close. Like, there was one about, like, why they were asked, like, why they think that they're being successful, basically, to put it shortly. And Charlie's answer was, like, just this number of different things, including, like, and focusing on, like, dedication and hard work. And then Mike's answer was, like, yeah, we just love each other so much, basically. Like, his entire answer was, like, yeah, we just, we all like each other, like, we're a chosen family. And it kept coming back to that. And I just love that. And I thought it was really sweet. And I also just like hearing that, because I kind of heard the same with, like, you and, like, your band.
Yeah.
And
like,
kind of like the same energy of just, like, like, we work really hard, da-da-da-da-da. We also just, like, really love each other as people. And I'm like, that's so sweet. And, like, I'm sure that is why there's so much, like, good happening for them, because like, if people can tell that you guys really all like each other, like, it's gonna portray you, like, very well.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's the versions out there of, like, Oasis, since they're in the news with their reunion shows finally, of a band that can also be really, really successful and work hard, but, like, not get along or like each other, and even be mean to each other in public. But there is a different version when you can noticeably tell, just the way, like, the band is more than just 4 or 5 X number of people that play music together. And when he was talking about that, I was obviously having those moments of, like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what that feels like. I had never experienced anything like what I experienced with, being in the band in that I was in, and those guys being people like, I would actually choose these guys over anyone. At some point you realize that, like, I got really, really lucky to have the kind of people that I would want to be friends with in any segment of my life, let alone being in a band and being forced in air quotes, to be in close quarters and in long, kind of things together. I think also related to what you were saying there similarly was the thing that struck me, which just the way I gave him an opportunity to tell me what he thinks about Charlie. And I guess the reason I chose to ask that question that way was because, like, Charlie's very iconic. I don't think he gets enough credit, as there's not a lot of flamboyant, iconic lead singers anymore in a more older traditional, you know what I mean? Kind of like it used to be a very like motif, like stereotype almost, but he fits that bill. He's got things you can see from people in the 70s, 80s, 90s, all that a little bit in him. And I guess because that was an instance where I was speaking from experience as a guitar player in a band, where the people who heavily write the songs are the ones out front singing and sort of the face of things on stage. Mm-hmm. And you have a moment, whether it's really early or through some big thing that might happen to you as a band, where you will have to choose and feel like, oh yeah, like these guys are going to do their thing, and I'm going to get associated with that. Even though I might not be the one doing it, it might not be my political opinion. It might not be, specifically any of that stuff. And it could give you mixed feelings. And I guess I just was really curious, having somebody who was that iconic, I think, as a front man, what his take, and for him to be so wholeheartely endorsing everything that Charlie does and says, and who he is as a person, more importantly, was, that felt really good. Like, that really kind of hit home to me
there was obviously like so much trust, because when he was saying, like, he said like 2 or 3 times where he was like doing his own thing, and then either like he'd hear about it after or just catch a glimpse or like see a TikTok or whatever. I'm just like, oh, when did Charlie do that? Oh, okay. It's just like, you've got to really trust someone to be so in your own zone and let your guard down that much, to just like trust that whatever they're doing is like,
and also funny to actually realize that, like, he misses so much of the show from where he stands and his part in the band playing. You can miss a lot of things going on. Like, you can turn around in a split second and be like, oh, the lead singer's in the middle of, the crowd right now, I guess, or something like that. And I thought those were just kind of fun, cool insights. And just a really refreshing take on life in a band and how you feel about your bandmate. And like you said, like, I guess I hadn't given it as much thought, but that's a really good point of how much that actually affects the quality of your output, right? Like, how much does that level up your band to have that kind of like love and commitment to one another? So,
right. Yeah. And when you think of it is, like, quite a few shifts ago at work now, but there was a day where like the lineup of servers at my work just happened to be like me and my girls, like all of us like hanging. And it's just so funny because like when we're all working together, like we're evidently still like acting like friends as much as coworkers, because it's like casual, it's like a serving job. But one of my tables was like, oh, like I forget what the exact comment was. It was basically like, oh, like you and all the coworkers like get along so well, like it's so cute to see, and it like the energy in here is just like so good. Like you just walk in and like everyone's like happy, and like it seems like all of you are like happy to be working and like super happy to be here, and like it's your job, and it just like makes me feel like now I'm happy to be in here with you guys. And I'm like, oh, like, them witnessing like us just be like girls who really like each other and our friends and like be in the same workplace, like improves that their experience, So it's like, oh, like as a band, like there's gotta have the same effect. Like, you see these people really like each other and put out music and like there's like really good energy coming from them. Like there's no way people are like having any kind of like negative effect by seeing that.
It's true. So. I'll say the one weird part about it though is when you notice people noticing things that for you aren't technically part of the performance, if I can put it that way, like it feels weird. Like I remember specifically, like there came a point, and it didn't happen every show at all, but it became a little more common that sometimes we just would love the show and we'd finish and we would hug each other on stage before walking off. And then people really noticed that. And then people would make comment about that. And then that's the part that would feel off-putting because you're sitting there and you want them to tell you how good a show you had and how good your performance was or how good you sounded that night or any of that kind of stuff. But that the feedback you're not ready to get is like, I like how you guys hang out, or isn't it so cool that you guys love each other? And don't get me wrong, it's great feedback. It's just not the feedback you expect sometimes. And
it's just like, oh yeah, like you forget that people can like see
they're watching you, right?
Yeah.
And I forget that they might be watching me from the moment I leave the stage and then walk over to the bar or go out to the front to interact with some fans or and guys like the guys in Hotel Mira are living that on a much grander scale, reminds you how difficult it is to be watched all the time and so often and stuff like that. But so I was really happy that we got to have that chat. I actually, just so you know, I don't know if I had told you, I had reached out to him in December of 2024.
He was on tour?
No, they weren't even on tour just yet, but we were going to try to line it up and book a date. And then they started to have a lot of things happen for them right at that time. And he got busy. And then in the new year, they started booking some tours, or they had some tours lined up, but they got maybe extended, or I can't remember the details, but some good things happened for them. So I just kind of took the foot off the gas on that one. So I was really happy when we reconnected and were able to make it happen.
That's sweet.
So just teaching me that sometimes podcast guest booking is the long game, not a short game. Yeah. And that's okay too, right? But okay, so really quickly, we've chatted about this a little bit, I think already, but our Folk Fest came and went, and we always are excited because particularly this time, because we've made such a big deal on the podcast about me missing so many great songs and artists and performances in past years because I didn't know they were great, and I just didn't do a good job of researching. So I tried to do a better job this year, and then also not flaking out on going to see the performance, which I think there's only one performance I missed, and that's because I chose to see one of my highlights, which was Giuliana Riolini or Riolino. Yeah. I think I say it wrong every time. I think it's Riolino. I'll feel terrible.
I think she's the one who got me to Tarp Run.
Oh, the name on your little thing, the way they do it at the Folk Fest for Tarps? Yeah. So on Sunday, they ran 3 cool shows at once, 2 of them being her and a guy named Jesse Wells, who has a very, and everybody will say he has a very cool, like modern Bob Dylan-y, young Bob Dylan-y vibe. And so I made the call to go see her, and I was happy I did, except that day the rains were a curse, and they just opened up 3 songs in, and then big wind and made everybody stop playing for a while, which sucked. But so it cut that short. But the things I wanted to see were my highlights for sure, like the big performances. Well, I wanted to see her, and she was cool. Like she just was really cool. But I don't really listen. Like a lot of hers is instrumental.
Yeah.
I have a lot
fair.
of respect as a guitar player, but it's not like what I'd listen to. But I was there for Steven Wilson Jr., like 100%. And I was
So
there
good.
for Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners.
So good.
And so those
No
were kind of
Joy.
top of my list. And then Rainbow Kitten Surprise, which also had an incredible show. And so everybody that I thought would have an incredible show had an incredible show. So, but I didn't want to miss those side stage, small stage ones this year again. And
I
so
getcha.
I really liked the Juliana Riolino, I think, was maybe my favorite of those. And then my other favorite moment, because I missed Jesse Wells. And if people are listening, they should go listen to Jesse Wells. And it was that Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners brought him out for a song, and they did Neil Young's Old Man, and they did a very like kudos, like a very good version that felt very it was very good, like, and so I was impressed, and I was really glad they did that. But that was like the big thing for me, and I wasn't as familiar.
There's any major misses this year?
No, Steven Wilson Jr. I will say this to anybody who's like heard a little bit about him or thought maybe I should listen, or he is one of those guys. His songs are great, but if you get a chance to see him play live, you really feel the songs, because he is, and I use the word earnest as any singer, songwriter guy. Like, it was awesome. Felt great. But tell me about the things that you were like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't miss this year, or if you know that you did miss one. I don't know.
Let me pull up my playlist. I think you mentioned most of them. There was a side stage, and it had Steph Strings, Richie Mitch.
Like a workshop?
Yeah, workshop. And then a third guy. And it was really cool. I wanted to see it because I thought it would be a good combo. It was probably my favorite performance, other than like the big main stages. It
was the older blues guy, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember which one that was. There's a couple this year. It was just so
cool because all three of them were taking turns. And a lot of workshops, you kind of hear everyone play and then compliment each other, or like ask a question and then move on. But Steph Strings surprised, I think, everyone, and just took over completely and was like, okay, I'm going to play this now, but both of you have to join in. And so, like, this is what it's going to be. And, like, made them kind of workshop it, and then was like, hey, I have a question, actually. And, like, they were all, like, actually workshopping, which I think sometimes in the, like, latest years have been, like, pretty lost at Folkfest sometimes with the workshops, you know? And then the guy who we cannot remember the name of had mentioned he prefers being on the drums and how he hasn't for a while.
Isn't that because Richie Mitch asked the two of them, because they were so good at the guitar? Yeah. He was like, what do you guys love about the guitar? And then he's like, actually, drums was my first instrument.
Yeah. And so when he hopped on the drums and then they all started playing, I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm glad I didn't miss that. Yeah, let me go to my fault. Yeah, I don't know. I think I hit everyone, which is nice. Oh, Kim Churchill I got to see again, which made me happy. Oh, yeah.
You wanted to see that. I remember.
I wanted to see him. He was just as good. Lindsay, like my friend, for people listening, who has not really gone to Focus before, or like one time I brought her. Anyways, she was shocked that by Kim Churchill. I hadn't heard of him before.
Oh, okay.
Really liked him. And that's my favorite thing, is like when you're with other people at Folkfest and someone starts playing and like you know them or whatever, and then someone's like, oh, wait, like this is so good, and you're like, welcome.
And he's a very engaging performer, right? And I said I'm going to make it my mission to really tell people to go watch live music this year. And he's a great example of like, it's the people who have learned how to be good performers that is just such a sweet spot when you go and watch it. You'll never get that feeling. People who don't just sit there and play their songs and then leave, but are actually engaging. I'm pretty sure he's coming,
and he's performing in Edmonton too in April, maybe.
Oh, well, maybe.
He had mentioned something like that. I might
Is
be a big
he
fat
Australian or New Zealand? Like
Australian.
Okay, I mean, yeah. So it's not like he can just pick up and get over here all the time.
No, but I'm pretty sure that was a conversation we'd had. Anyways. Anyone from Folkfest playing anywhere in Edmonton, people should go see, period.
Well, I will put the plug in is that we've had some past folk festers come in and play, or have some shows coming up. So Boy Golden has a show at a new upstart folk fest in September, early September, I think, or mid. And I think later September, Dan Mangan, our old friend, is back but he's on tour, and I think that people should check that out. And Hotel Mira, who we just had this episode about, just announced and released a whole extended set. They had to wait for the summer shows to be done before they could say they were coming back to cities, because like when they're doing the festival circuit, those people don't want them to broadcast that they're coming back later. But so they'll be coming through a good chunk of Canada towards the last couple months of the year, so people can watch for that. And they should, because like as far as like a good old rock and roll show, I want to fully endorse the guys in Hotel Mira. They do a great show. They always sound really good. Like they play, they're not one of these bands that won't play the hits. Like they've had a lot of great like radio success on alt radio. Right. And they'll get up and they'll play the hits, right? Like they know what people know and want to sing along to. And so I want to endorse that as well. That's all. That's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we're at 22, so we need to wrap it up.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up. Something isn't there like an improv like hand signal for wrap it up? That's I don't know. And scene, is that what we're just gonna do? Okay.
Yeah, everyone just goes and
and try to hope the person.
You know this.
I know that they hope that the person on lights is watching and hits it fast enough. I get it. Okay. Thank you. Love you.
Yeah. Love you. I'll see you for next week.
You bet.